right. If we quickly recap these three terms, perimeter, area, volume, we'll say perimeter is one-dimensional and it is the length around a shape. And it's measured in, yes? It's a length and it's just measured in whatever, centimeters or meters, just the normal way. Area, if you look at area is the size of a 2D shape. So area is 2D and it's measured in centimeters squared or meters squared. And then volume is a 3D shape and it's the amount of space inside a 3D shape, and that's measured in centimeters cubed. Okay. So when we start now, we're just going to say the volume of these stacks. You can simply count because it says each little cube is 1 cubic centimeter. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of them. And then that's why I give the unit centimeters cubed, which is with a little 3. But I did teach you the formula to work out the volume of a cuboid. It's a kind of a little shortcut for if you were to count these, you could just go, that's my length, that's my breadth or my width, and that's my height. So we could go, this is 4, that's 3, and it's 4 blocks high. So instead of just counting, I could have used the formula, which is the volume equals length times width times height, which would be 4 times 3 times 4. And that gives me the 48. Or maybe you did something else. You counted them row for row and then you planned how many rows there will be or that you can fit in there. Next, this one doesn't have a formula. You just need to count that there's 3 in one of these lines. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. So it's 10 times 3. I gave you 1 mark for each answer and then 1 mark at the end if your units were also there and they were correct. Okay, let's look at the swimming pool. I think some of you just overthought this a little. Each of these blocks are 1 meter. Their length is 1 meter. So if you want to cover the swimming pool with a net, you need to cover the area. Remember I said kind of not really a net because I want only the area of the swimming pool surface. So I said think more of that bubble wrap that is exactly the size of the swimming pool's surface. And so I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is my length. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is my width. And 8 times 4 is 32. And it has to be meters squared because I've told you that these blocks are 1 meters each, their length and their width. And area, remember now, area is 2-dimensional. So you're working out the area at this one. And it's this area now. So in other words, that's how many dark grey blocks there are. If you just counted the blocks, you'd also get 32. Now he wants to put a fence around the swimming pool. 1 meter from the edge. So if you go 1 meter from the edge, that's where the fence is going to be. So that's why I drew it on the picture for you. The fence is already there. So how big must the fence be? Well, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Its length will be 10 and its width will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so if we talk about a fence, we know that we're actually referring to perimeter. So for perimeter, we do length plus length, 10 plus 10, 10 plus 10, plus 6, plus another 6. And by chance, that also gives you 32 meters, although that's not the perimeter of the grey blocks that we've previously worked out the area of. That's the perimeter of the whole shape, including a fence that is 1 meter away from the swimming pool. Does that make sense? Okay. Right, so like I said, at this one, I didn't really subtract marks for incorrect units at the end, but check that you write a meter squared for my area and a meter for my perimeter. Next. It starts by saying each square in the grid is 1 meter. That really helps me just to know what I'm counting in. Now we want the area of A. Now you could either count the blocks or you could do length times width. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the length. 1, 2 is the width. And area is length times width. So that's how I got 10, and that's meter squared. Again, on this page, I wasn't very strict on the units. So maybe you left out the units, but you still got the 1 mark. Which two shapes have the same area? So this one covers 10 blocks. That's basically what it says, 10 blocks. Which other one then, or let's count all of them and see who of them have the same area that's covered. Now, guys, you can kind of predict the sizes of the blocks here because it's on a grid. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks is this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This one's also 9. And then this one is 4. I'm doing that without saying length times width because I can actually just count how many blocks is covered by this area. But I could say length times width. I could say 3 times 3 gave me the 9, or 2 times 2 gave me the 4. Okay. So which ones were the same? It was these two 9s, the B and the C. Do they have the same perimeter? Now I need to check B and C's perimeter. So I'm going to take a green one and go, what's the perimeter here? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus 1, plus another 9, plus another 1. So it's 9 plus 1 is 10, and 10 plus 9 is 19, plus 1 is 20. So this has a perimeter of 20 meters. Let's check this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This one's perimeter equals 12 meters. So no, they're not the same. This is why I allowed you to use a calculator during this test, because I wasn't so interested in seeing how you work out your longer sums. I was just interested in seeing, did you know what you had to times by each other, or maybe were you supposed to times, were you supposed to divide? Let's see. You have to buy a carpet to cover the area identical to that of shape A. So, yes. Oh, I skipped one. Thank you. Calculate the total area of C and D. You have to by now know the word total means plus. So the total area of C and D means that I take C's area, which I've just already worked out as 9. I take D's area. D I've just worked out as 4. But then I must add them together. Because it's area, it's in meters squared, but you didn't lose a mark for the unit as long as you got to 13. A lot of you did say 9 and 4, but you didn't add them. That's a mistake, because you have to know that total means plus them. Okay, now we're covering shape A. So we want a carpet that's this big. The carpet then obviously has to be 10. I've already worked this out. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 2, which is 10. So the area is 10. So I need a 10 square meter carpet. carpet costs 105 rand per square meter. So for 1 square meter, it's 105. But I need 10 of them. So I will say 10 times 105. And basically 1 mark for knowing you had to do 10 times 105 and 1 mark for getting the answer right. How much will you pay obviously means your answer is in rands. Here or there, some of you were thinking, okay, I'm working with area, so I need to make it meters squared. I'm asking you for the price, so some of you lost a mark there for not saying rands but saying meters squared. That means you're a little confused. We're talking about money in that case. A landscaper wants to lay roll-on lawn on an area equivalent to shape B. So if I look at B and I want this area to be covered in grass, that's 9. I've already counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 square meters, or you could say 9 times 1 is 9. The lawn will cost him 45 rand per square meter. So here's my first sum. 45 rand times the 9 square meters. That's how much money I'll pay for the lawn. But then it will take 4 hours to lay. Obviously the job takes time and you pay for their time and their work, not just for the product. And the company will charge him 60 rand an hour. So if it takes 4 hours, you need to do 60 times 4 to work out how much he's paying for the labor or for their time. The rest you could do on your calculator. So you could now say, all right, 45 times 9 gives me 405. 60 times 4 gives me 240. And then you plus those two together. Right, so it's 2 separate things that you're working out. You're working out, step 1, you're working out how much he's paying for the grass. The 45 rand, but he needs 9 of them. It's 45 rand a square meter, but he needs 9 of them. So basically you're counting in 45s, not up 9 times. So that's why you're multiplying. But then he also pays for the labor, and we know now the labor is 60 rand an hour, but he is using up 4 hours, so that's the second part of the sum. Right, there's 4 marks here that you could have won. You get 1 mark for knowing what you need to times by each time. Then 1 mark for working out those 2 answers correctly, and 1 mark for adding them up. So here or there, some of you didn't get 4, but you at least got 1 or 2 other marks. Again, I wasn't too strict on the units, but if you didn't say rand and said something like meters squared, then you're a little demakar. So then you lost a mark for your units. Can I go on? Have you copied what you need? Are you still awake? You with me? Okay. Guys, this was 8 marks right here, and some of you threw them away. Look here. I can't remember which color I've been doing perimeter in, but I'll do perimeter now in red, and then I'll do the area in blue, okay? There's 2 things you have to work out. Now, guys, what you learned, and if you studied for this, you would have learned perimeter is just plussing all the sides. For perimeter, we add all the sides, not just the ones that they write down, however. In other words, it's 12 plus 7, but what do you think this one is? 12, and what do you think that one is? 7. So it's 12 plus 12 plus 7 plus 7. You just had to plus all the sides, okay? That then gives you and perimeter is measured in only centimeters. It's centimeters here, so you can't use meters in this case. I gave you a whole extra mark if your unit was correct as well. Yes, Lakanya? Okay, I'll check now. I'll have to change that. Okay, let's check this one. So for this one, the perimeter, we've done that one. I'm firstly going to do this perimeter now. 8 plus 4 plus 8 plus 4. Or I just ordered them. 8 plus 8, 4 plus 4. It's a plus sum. When we do perimeter, we plus. That brings me to 24, and 1 mark for having your unit correct. It's only centimeters, not centimeters squared. Now I'll do the area in blue. Area is basically if we were counting blocks, right? But I've now taught you there's a shorter way than counting blocks. We'll just do a times sum. So area is to times. So here I'll do 12, the length times the width. 12 times 7. And then I'll know how big, not how long it is right around, not the length of the sides. I know how much area is being covered by the 2D shape. That's the blue part. So there I do length times width. And in this case also, and so remember you had your calculator. So once you knew you had to do 12 times 7, you had to have this correct. And that's centimeters squared, because as you learned, meters is measured in square units with a little 2. Stands for 2D. Right. The next one is then 8 times 4, and so that gives me this area. And how big is this? 8 times 4 is 32. And again, another mark for your units. So that's 8 marks you could have got. Right, so for number 5, you'll remember I had this on the board for you. I said if this is the poles of a fence and that's the wire, then this I said is a 1-strand fence. So I said if this is 1 meter and that's 1 meter, then this is a 2 meter of 1-strand fence, right? The sum says a wire fence needs to be erected around a rectangular vegetable patch. So I draw the rectangle. This is what I draw up here. Look there. There I drew it just to help myself. The patch has a length of 7 and a width of 3. What's the perimeter of the vegetable patch? So firstly, who's talking? Have you got a question? Do you have a question for me? If I'm looking for the perimeter of the vegetable patch, the perimeter will be right around. So it's 7 plus 3 plus 7 plus 3. Remember, it's adding all the sides up. That gives me 20 meters. That counted 2 marks, so your unit also had to be correct. Next, if the wire costs R3.50 per meter, how much will it cost for a 1-strand fence? In other words, you take the wire, you walk around the vegetable patch only once. So that is the perimeter. So all you need to do is say, okay, I'm going to use my perimeter once. Here's my perimeter. And I'm going to times it by the price, R3.50, because I need 20 meters. And the meters cost R3.50 each. And again, you had your calculator for this, and that's 70 Rand. 2 marks. Now, if 3 strands of wires were used, so now I drew this on the board for you, and I said, remember, if this is what a 3-strand fence looks like. That means I walked around not once, not twice, but 3 times I walked around the vegetable patch to put the wire around 3 times. That means I need to take my price and times it by 3, because I need 3 times as much. So I'm going to take, or you could have taken 70 and plus 2 more 70s to it. That would have been your price. Or you could have said 70 times 3, because there's 3 strands, and I know that 1 strand costs 70 Rand. So if you had your initial one wrong, you'd have the second one wrong as well. Now 6 was my trick question, but you did practice a lot of these in your Cami Maths, right? On your online maths on the iPad. But you only practiced mostly with perimeter. So you guys were doing pretty well with the missing measurements. Remember, if this is 7 and that is 8, then I can literally move the 7 up to there. And I can move the 8 up to there. And I can say, oh, so this is going to be 7 plus 8, which is 15. Next, there's another missing piece. This is the other missing piece, okay? But I can tell myself, no, hang on. This whole thing, this whole piece was the same as, was 10, because this is 10. So obviously this must also be 10. So if this whole piece was 10, but this is a 4, then that would mean that this part is also 4. So I can cut the 4 off. I'm literally cutting it off. There, let's take it away. Cutting the 4 off. So that means 10 minus 4, which will give me 6. Okay, that's your other mark. So that's where these 2 marks went to. Now the perimeter of the shape is plussing them all together, but you need to include your missing ones. So if you had missing ones wrong, then you wouldn't have gotten this right. 1 mark for showing me that you plussed all of them. So even if you did have the missing ones wrong, you could still get this mark just for showing me that you'd plussed all your ones, even if they were not correct. And then 1 mark for the 50. Your unit has to, can't remember, no, I didn't mark strict on the units here, as long as you said 50. Now, the area was a tricky one, and that I always throw in to see how many of you can figure this out by yourselves, and congratulations to those who got a smiley face there. Who did? Put up your hands. 1, Alizwa, Kira, who else? Ethan. Awesome, that's super clever. I can see you thought this through properly. I'm very proud of you. So, and then also if you didn't get it right, you don't have to feel bad, because this is not something that you had to study. This is just something that I wanted you to try and figure out. So, the area of a rectangle is length times width. But this whole thing is not a rectangle. This whole thing is, well, it's an odd shape. Hey, it's called a composite shape. But what it is it is 2 rectangles. So what I do is I cut it into 2 parts. And I say, this one is a 10 times 7. Because I get area by saying length times width. Now don't worry about the other sides lengths. You just need the length, which was 10, and the width, which was 7. Then you have the smaller one, and this one, length times width, will be 8 times 4. Don't worry about that 15. Don't worry about that 6. You just need a length times a width of this specific part of the shape. And now you've got 2 parts that you can put together. So now we plus. So I did a 10 times a 7, that's the 70. And I did a 8 times a 4, that's the 32. And then I plus them together to get the 102. So well done to those who figured it out. This is my little trick question at the end. And in grade 7, we're going to do loads of these. Aliswa?
Sure,